The one guy that's always giving Sonic and the crew headaches is Eggman, this guy that's ridiculously smart. Let's get into it. Eggman is one of those rare characters in the video to where you kind of got to get an idea of how strong he is based on his smartness. The inventions he makes, I guess that's a way of understanding how strong he is. You can look at him like his intellect is power. The Sonic website literally describes him as an evil genius with an IQ of 300. He wants to expand his Eggman empire through world domination with armies of robots he made himself at his disposal. He's a constant threat and always looking to bolster his power through stealing objects like the Chaos Emeralds. Matter of fact, you see that object in his hand right here. Weapons and gadgets is his specialty. It seems to be a family thing because his grandfather is ridiculously smart too. Just small examples of his intellect on how he makes backup plans for his machines where it has two different pilot areas. A good example here on how this machine shoots out another mech within a mech that he also can pilot. Sonic has to be the one to take out Eggman because if Sonic isn't here, Eggman's army will quickly take over the world in no time. This guy must live in his lab. I mean, look at his shades. His glasses got this kind of stuff that can detect Chaos Emeralds. You could say his glasses give him enhanced senses. Even when you think he doesn't have no battlesuit or mech, he has backup plans like a jetpack, right here, for example, to fly away. He's not above using dynamite. He's one of those characters that has been defeated a lot throughout these games and adventures. Like, I'm talking about even time travel shenanigans where he met like another version of himself, his younger self or something, and these two literally have conversations while they both are trapped in another dimension. But in other games, you see him still pop up being Sonic's villain, so obviously he had to find a way to get out of here off screen, so it lets you know he has some off-screen intellectual feats. Or has some tech to get out of here or something. Or did they work together to use their gear they have on their battle suits to get out of here? The two Eggmans working together. He even has feats of beating certain beings within the crew off screen, like how he did Amy. She was incapacitated in this particular situation. See, when it comes to Eggman, his brains is power, right? But there's definitely some mysterious showings of his raw punching power or just muscle without necessarily relying on his tech. Somehow was able to break all of this with his punching power. So there's already implications, even without relying on his gear, he could just punch through solid brick walls or something with his bare fist. I mean, how are you supposed to perceive this? I know this is gameplay, but he's punching vehicles and crap in the air, like trucks and such. Cars, blah, blah, blah. But let's get into this guy's head, his brain, his versatile inventions and such. This is probably something you're going to see a lot throughout this video, his little floating hover device that he can use to fly. Throughout the games, he makes better versions of it, some for racing for even higher speed, has weapons on it like hammer, drills. He's put legs and arms on it. You're going to see a lot of these type of mechs that look similar to himself, upgraded versions of the same mechs from the past that look kind of like himself. This one has other perks like being an energy extractor. So in a way, depending on prep time and devices, he can get more power from the environment or outside sources because he can drain stuff. Like this one got like a lance and a shield, but you can still see the Eggman mustache, implying it looks like him. A lot of these mechs can do a lot of the same things: missiles, lasers, blasts, blade slashes. Since he's so smart, the one thing you don't want to do is give him energy to give him stuff to power his devices. Like this being Dark Guy, for example, he will use these different entities in this universe to put together his creation stated here. In fact, he has so many creations, some of these are not officially named. Some of these are with power sources from outside sources or just his own tech. Notice how he's always battling Sonic, and just like in real life, technology is always improving as time goes by. You could say this for Eggman. His technology is always improving. Even his later robots he calls special because it's powered by certain energies. He calls it invincible, aka better than some of his previous stuff. Like this one, for example, is powered by the Phantom Ruby. Other devices similar to the Chaos Emeralds that he's gotten involved with. For example, this device is actually powered by the Phantom Ruby. Even mechs that I'm probably not going to show in this video because he literally has too many mechs. It's not really worth showing every single thing he's ever made because this video will be too long. But just know, a lot of these mechs have a lot of the same qualities. Arms, legs, cannons, they can box you up. They offer him protection against Sonic's hits. Some even have their own staff, his very own centipede type mechs, underwater turtle type mechs, dragon mechs, literal devil mechs. He's had mechs that combine, eliminating their weaknesses. Spider mech, octopus mech. What does he have, like a flower mech? Oh yeah, he has mechs that can go into different modes, and he can use them like wheels. He can hammer you while driving by. He has spring mechs, multi-use vehicle mechs that have an arm, hand, and even a hammer. Cannons, mechs that hurt you when you get close because it has spikes sticking out of it. Tire Ferris wheel looking mechs. He definitely has his own Death Star from Star Wars. Death Egg. I will be bringing up Metal Sonic in this video because that's technically one of his greatest inventions of all time. You can look at these two like his sentient inventions. They're his kids, one could say. Yeah, this being known as Sage is technically also one of his kids. This was during the newest game and they was in like a digital world. The world is also her. Even though she's like a digital being, she can actually physically interact with physical beings though. Because if she couldn't, why would Knuckles move in the way of Sonic so Sonic won't get hit with this attack? Not to mention we've seen her physically hit Sonic here, so she can literally seal you up and lock beings up in cyber cages in the digital world. His tech is very versatile, like shooting fire, electricity manipulation around his gear. We see like this static effect, ice manipulation. Any weapon in the military, just know that he probably got it in his cannons or something. I mean, you can't beat the classic just regular old bullets and just missiles all in, and homing missiles that follow you. He can do like some Green Lantern energy construct type stuff and make like energy hands to physically grab beings like Sonic. Did I get around to telling you that he has tech that can literally fuse with parts of the environment to make himself better? Like, yeah, you're seeing this correctly. Yeah. He already has superhuman physicals, but when it comes to his tech being able to lift a lot of weight, we know as a bare minimum, he can lift at least 16 freaking tons. Based on this crap he just dropped. Just like how he can punch this hard, amplificated, mechs can definitely do worse. Look at this boulder we see him just shatter. The weight of his mech's hits are implied to be able to shake entire buildings like structures, for example. Here, we see him bust in. Moments like this with his Egg Dragoon, with his strike, could definitely mess up a building or two with this, if we're being honest. This is something I feel like his lower tier mechs can do. So, of course, that these high-end ones can do. I mean, they're fighting Sonic and stuff. It's the same concept for their blast power, not just strikes. I mean, look what he can do in just egg walkers to doors and such. Expected, right? None of this stuff stands a chance. Even giant stone columns like this, which is taller than a couple stories of a building and such, he can definitely damage this kind of stuff. So even in his weaker stuff, he can blast away buildings with laughable ease. I mean, there's implications his tech or gear can blast away cities, for example, like they even threaten to wipe out beings' kingdoms. Eggman Nega is an alternate reality version of Eggman. I'm pretty sure the real Eggman can do this too. Like you literally see them next to each other. Eggman's grandfather was smart enough to create devices that can blast away, one could say, city sized structures that can be seen from space. So it's clear implications that Eggman can blow away cities with his tech. They even imply it will only take a fraction of the power. Who needs the government when you can blast with nuclear type force on your own, with your own tech? He basically has nuclear type destruction lasers. Oh, but it gets worse. There's implications that Eggman, just like his grandfather, should technically be able to do this similar. They have similar intellect. Should be able to blast a big chunk off the moon. This stuff wouldn't kind of imply they could blast away the United States or just large countries in general. Being able to put big gases in the moon like this. Yeah, the intelligence runs in the family. What's the largest continent you think he can blow away? I mean, don't forget the size of the moon compared to the Earth, and it can delete a big chunk of the moon like this. Let's just face it. He can shatter a planetoid like the moon with his gear. You know, lasers and such. Yeah. Eggman was hanging out with the alternate reality version of himself. Eggman Nigga never got to actually use it, but they say there was like a literal planet buster laser. In the Egg Wizard, the reason why this piece of gear was so powerful because it was powered up by this thing known as Power of the Stars. If we take this statement seriously and it really could planet shatter, a planet that's bigger than a planetoid like the moon, that would mean planets like Earth. He has gear that has earth-shattering might or lasers with this power. And even if you don't want to rely on that for evidence, he literally has his own version of the Death Star, the Death Egg, which is kind of similar to Star Wars. This is another thing that can literally planet destroy. You remember this weapon I showed a little bit earlier, just slightly earlier, that can do this to planetoids like the moon? Let's just say like Eggman has another weapon that's kind of serves the same purpose as this Eclipse Cannon. This final Egg Blaster is, I guess you can say, is something that's like an attachment onto the Death Egg to do even crazier things other than just earth shatter. Of course it can earth shatter, but it can even do greater things like destroy more than one star. That means he has blasts that are astronomically more powerful than earth-shattering. Considering the size difference between a sun, Jupiter, and look how small the Earth looks compared to Jupiter, like that would mean he would be able to mess up a whole bunch of Earth-sized structures if he can destroy more than one sun. The way this thing is worded, it makes it seem like he blasts away more than two suns, honestly. Without sugarcoating anything, he has so much blast power, he could destroy an astronomical amount of Earths with one blast. He can destroy Earths several thousand times over. I mean, this is consistent when you think about, he has literal gear like the Nega Wisp that can literally make the black holes in the middle of combat. Shout out to the Nega Egg Wisp, something that can literally blast out black holes. Something Eggman created. It wouldn't really make sense if Eggman wasn't this powerful. I mean, look who his opponents he always has to fight. Sonic himself, who can hit hard because of his speed. His battle suits can take hits from Knuckles. No telling how many improvements he's always making. He's constantly taking hits from multiple squad members at the same time. I mean, we've even at times seen Eggman box it out with super forms, y'all. Like when his gear is durable enough to withstand hits that hit him hard enough to go into space, it lets you know the durability of his mechs. And this kind of stuff doesn't shatter his gear, which surprisingly, that's crazy. I'm bringing up all this stuff for a reason because these beings Sonic and crew over the years have constantly been able to match each other, box it out with each other, and even battle out with beings that literally are powered up by the super form. Like I'm not saying any of these characters are up there with their super forms, but the fact that there's super beings like Knuckles that can literally knock super forms out of their forms. Base form characters can knock beings that are in their super forms out of their super form with hits. This brings me onto the topic at hand that Eggman with prep time has gear that can actually restrain super form level beings, even in cutscene, for example, like when he was in the super form, he couldn't get out of this. Not to mention, Eggman drained him of his power in this particular situation of the Chaos Emeralds. He has literally tech that can mess up super forms. No, I'm not talking out my butthole. I'm talking about literal mechs. You remember what Knuckles did, knocking him out of his super form? Remember that? Let's just say we've seen Eggman's mechs do that to Sonic's super forms. This leads me to, I want to briefly talk about Eggman actually using outside power sources to amp up himself or his gear real quick. Yeah, we're not going to talk about how he actually got the super form in his actual body too. Oh, my bad. Let me not. Eggman's already scary enough without like the Chaos Emeralds, which is this universe's version of the Infinity Stones. Usually when his gear has these type of things, they usually have to double team him and usually they have to attack the emerald itself. Like this, for example, is like the Master Emerald, either the Chaos Emerald or Master Emerald, either or. Are outside sources. Tails and Sonic here have to team up on him in this particular situation. You can only fathom how powerful these devices are with just one of these. Yes, there are occasions where Eggman is amped up with these Chaos Emeralds, but yeah, I've already showed you plenty of evidence of him fighting Sonic and without this. It just makes his job a little easier when using these outside power sources. Just to give you an idea of the raw power these things possess. Let's just say, with a press of a button, he can wipe out planets. When Eggman is siphoning off power from Super Sonic here with these emeralds, for example, we see him use his blast to basically open up the freaking Earth. Yeah, causing all this destruction. Yep. Making this creature Dark Gaia become unleashed. Yeah. So Eggman by default can easily bust planets with these. With these emeralds can break the world into 7 parts. Matter of fact, Earth's destruction isn't their limit, obviously. Chaos Emeralds can power up stuff to pierce stars, more than one. Don't let Eggman get this kind of stuff. He can just pierce through the stars and destroy them with these emeralds. Don't worry, I'm not going to stay on this section long because I want to show you how strong Eggman is without these emeralds and stuff. But like, yeah, Eggman considers this stuff to be unimaginable power. We're talking about like reality distorting things that can do way more than what I've just mentioned already. Like, logically speaking, as smart as Eggman is, if he calls these Chaos Emeralds unimaginably powerful, and he has tech on his own that can shatter stars, this has to, by default, have to be higher than star shattering level just from the fact that he seeks this kind of power. This is a good example of how powerful these Chaos Emeralds when it comes to raw energy, like this being Solaris. Part of the reason why he got his form was part of the help from these Emeralds' energy. Emeralds is part of the reason why somebody can consume every timeline, more than one universe, and annihilate the meaning of time. Yeah, multiple universes were in jeopardy because of this. So technically, Eggman using this kind of stuff, he would technically by default be able to threaten multiple universes as well. But yeah, this is too overpowered. But let me get off of these emeralds real quick. It's a little weird, but hey, Eggman has at times bested super forms in the past with his tech or gear, just draining them or prep. Sure, some of these times he's powered up by outside sources, but then other times he's not powered up by outside sources. His gear can still hang with beings that have super forms. And even though super forms are apparently supposed to be invincible, he can do this to it. Knock him out of it. See, here's the thing about these super forms. I've already talked about how emeralds can, cause universe destruction. These beings basically have like these emeralds in them and they're getting empowered by these emeralds, stuff that can destroy universes and stuff. This kind of raw power kind of goes for their durability. It's constantly talked about how their super forms give them invulnerability. Obviously, they can be hurt. It just takes a ridiculous amount of force to hurt them, but it gives them like the same kind of blast power and stuff. It should go for their durability when these beings go in super forms, emerald forms, emerald powered forms. I'm not saying Eggman's base devices are a match for super forms, but hey, what does this freaking mean? I would obviously give the super forms advantage, but let's just say, I don't know, maybe it's 50% or 1% of their power. He can hit these super forms hard enough to do some damage to them. It's really hard to scale this, obviously, because we know that they're not comparable to the actual full power of all the emeralds, but this is still impressive being able to do this to beings that apparently have invulnerability. I mean, there's this being literally named the Time Eater, y'all. His name is exactly what you think. Sonic and these beings in their super forms have to face off against these kind of beings, so this should give you an idea of what Eggman has to compete with when we see Eggman fighting against these Sonic forms in their supersonic forms.
It's the events that happened after the time meter kind of consumed all of time space,
You heard all that correctly. Even in newer stuff, they kind of double down on the fact that the Time Eater literally ate universes. I don't know, guys. I'm not saying that Eggman's bots are up there with the Time Eater or universe-threatening beings, but hey, he damaged beings that be scuffling with universe-threatening beings. I'm just saying. I'll let you do the math on the fact he can damage super forms without necessarily relying on Chaos Emeralds, just with his tech, beings that can fight universe-threatening beings and win, like the Time Eater. Many other examples of this, not just the Time Eater. He's hurting super forms and stuff like this. I mean, don't quote me, but there's even times where it seems that Sonic needs his super forms to even get out of the grip of Eggman's robots, for example. Like here, he had to use the emeralds to get out of his grip to show the power of his bots. I mean, how do you interpret this? I mean, I said I wasn't going to bring up outside power sources too much. Don't dare to give Eggman an unimaginable power source. Power sources that even the Chaos Emeralds can't compare to, apparently. The power of stars. I kind of briefly mentioned this earlier. Like, even in super forms, they talk about how I don't know if we can beat him together or beat them together with super forms. So, let me get off this. I mean, he got bots that he calls invincible and crap. Some that he calls special. I mean, Eggman is the same guy, like I mentioned earlier, can make his own version of Sonic, basically. Metal Sonic is a being that matches Sonic in every way. Even at some points, you can argue surpass the base Sonic, because believe it or not, Metal Sonic has evolved and got newer forms to where he was kind of ridiculously overpowered because he was sucking up data, getting more power. They literally had to team up to the point where there was even points where Metal Sonic was so powerful they said regular attacks wasn't enough. Metal Sonic combined the data with his power. He combined y'all data with the power of chaos. Yeah, look at Metal Sonic. Yeah. Oh, what do you know? Metal Sonic had to battle super forms and other groups of heroes working together. Metal Overlord. I guess this universe-threatening stuff with Metal Sonic should apply for Eggman because it was his invention. Eggman's invention literally fought a super form with Knuckles and Tails working together, everybody working together, because he copied data, kept evolving. Like, it was so bad, everybody had to do their part, everybody had to get involved, huddle up type status. Even if you don't want to really try to compare him to super forms, which is fine, he can fight the base cast with his inventions like Sage. And we know the base characters have given super forms issues, not saying they're equal to super forms, but we've seen the base characters give super forms issues, just like how Eggman has damaged super forms in his mechs. There's implications Sage's blast power can actually harm Sonic tier beings, or they wouldn't even bother blocking for his teammate. Sage can literally lock or seal Sonic tier beings in a space they can't get out of, and she just has straight up energy projection to do this to Sonic. So basically, without sugarcoating anything, Eggman's kids, his inventions, all of them, based on the fact he can match the Sonic cast, can destroy planets and things much bigger than planets like suns, based on all the stuff I've showed you in this video. These are some of his greatest inventions. He has weaker inventions that can destroy planets and stars. You see what I mean? He literally has inventions that can damage beings that can threaten the universe. The main cast, beings that fight super forms that can fight things that threaten the universe. I mean, how do you explain this? We literally seen Eggman boxing it out with super forms. And then those rare times where him and Sonic are basically forced to work together, they had to face this being that was stronger than any threat in the past. This being known as the End.
Now I shall tear down the walls between dimensions and consume all.
We've got to save everyone, everywhere.
You have fought machines and gods. They were finite. I am infinite.
He took your home world. He took your lives. Are you going to let him do it all over again?
I am the all-consuming void. Countless worlds, countless stars, all fell to me. All brought to nothing.
It can destroy countless stars, countless worlds, consume all. Supersonic can't take it on its own.
Even Supersonic won't be able to stop it.
The reason why I'm bringing all this up is because Eggman, along with his inventions like Sage, working together with Sonic that's powered up by cybernetics, this big old gun, which Eggman was helping use, they kind of work together to take on this being known as the End, a being that's stronger than other foes from the past that can actually mess up universes. Not to mention this being, the End is literally a planet. Eggman's part of the reason why they helped take this being on. Of course, Sonic was massively powered up more than normal, of course, to be able to do this. Yeah, this being was really about to take everything to oblivion. Not to mention when this being the End was in his avatar mode, he was blasting near Eggman. She can create shields that are strong enough to actually block these attacks. So it lets you know she's really, really powerful, thanks to Eggman inventing her. Of course, this was a lot of strain. I shouldn't have to say this, but naturally his stuff should be fast, like all of his tech, really. I mean, he made Metal Sonic somebody that's literally Sonic speed and strength, but attack speed-wise, he should have light speed attack speed. He can literally blast out actual lasers, which should technically be light speed. Not to mention his techs or his little hover things can literally fly in a straight line pretty fast. His stuff is literally incalculable because Sonic speed is light speed. Well, actually even faster. He says light speed is nothing to him. And we've constantly seen Eggman's gear keep up with him in combat speed or just raw speed in point A to point B speed in general. I mean, heck, technically even in super forms where he's flying in extra and technically should be faster than he normally would be. Thanks to his inventions like Metal Sonic, who should technically have Sonic level speed or way faster than the speed of light. Really hard to measure this, but yeah, he's way faster than light. And this just basically competing with Sonic. I mean, technically for the most part, he doesn't even have to come up to you and fight. He can just kind of gangbang you with his big egg fleet. He has artificial intelligence that will scan everything for him so he can understand his chance of winning. So it's almost like he always has outside help because this is the stuff he created. It counts. I mean, smart beings like Tails has their intellect compared to Eggman. You know, Tails is really smart. You give Eggman an emerald or something, he can destroy a universe or universes, space-time continuums, or the Chaos Emeralds. Let's not let him stay in these super forms too long. He might learn how to use the full power of these things and mess up the whole space-time continuum. But yeah, everybody, that's just about going to do it for Eggman. He's pretty freaking smart, aka making him powerful. Who do you know with his brain that has enough technology to trap super forms to where they can't move and escape the trap? Only freaking Eggman. But Sage and Metal Sonic agree you should hit that like button for me real quick. This stuff ain't easy to make, and thanks for the donations, folks. How smart is Eggman? I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.